Welcome to the Pets Mag podcast. I'm your host, Marie Carter Robb. Joining us today is the incredible singer-songwriter Bright Light, also known as Rod Thomas. His music has captivated audiences worldwide. Rod will share the deeply personal story behind his latest single, Sunny. This stunning tribute to Sunny, his late rescue cat, not only honours their special bond, but also raises funds for, now, how do you say it, Rod? Bide
By the way.
Bide. Great, thank
Yeah.
you. The New York rescue shelter that brought them together. With a career that includes collaborations with icons like Elton John, Scissor Sisters, and Erasure, touring with Cher, and appearances on The Graham Norton Show, Rod's talents are nothing short of dazzling. So grab a tissue. This is a story
Mm.
of love, loss, and the incredible power of music and community. So let's dive in. Hello, Rod. Can I ask you start by asking you first of all, what inspired you to write Sunny and to make it such a personal project?
So my cat Sunny, I adopted from this rescue shelter in 2021, and we had this really amazing friendship where he was my first cat to have as the primary caretaker as an adult. I'd grown up with cats, but when you have your own first solo pet, it's like a very different experience. So we became super close. He was a really special little guy. Like he was a behavior case at By the Way, and he was like the in the color schemes, it goes from like green to red, red being like, danger cat, and he was the reddest cat that they'd ever had. But he was the sweetest man. When I got him home, he was just the kindest man, always loved people, really, really sweet. And over the 3 years, we had this really wonderful relationship. And then out of nowhere, he had congestive heart failure. I was actually in the vet with him 2 days before it happened, and there was no sign of any health issues whatsoever. And then he had the congestive heart failure, and he had to be hospitalized. So he was in the ER, and I had to leave him there overnight. And I went home by myself, and it was the first time since I adopted him that the house had been empty. And I don't really know what possessed me to, but I just sat down at the piano and I started writing the song. So I wrote pretty much all of the song that night that he was in the ER and I was by myself. And he then came home, and a month later he went into congestive heart failure again and had to be euthanized. And I finished the song the day after he died. So it was really just inspired by the very profound silence that was in the apartment when he wasn't there, and really just, oh my God, the emotion of seeing him in that little in the ER. You can also hear the full disclosure, I've just adopted a new cat and he just pulled something down in the other room. So that was the dramatic moment.
Mhm.
Um yeah,
Isn't
it was the sense
it,
of loss and
okay.
silence and really just trying to deal with it.
Isn't it funny? I mean, your cat, new rescue cat just made a noise there, but isn't it funny how animals, they can't speak like we do, but they fill a home, they fill a house, they make it a home.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes. So the apartment that I'm in at the moment, I adopted Sunny pretty much like a month or two after I moved in here. So he was here for the whole time. So I really associated this apartment with him being in it. And it was my little family. Um, I really do feel like having grown up with cats and now having my own, that it doesn't really feel like a permanent home unless there's an animal in it for me. Um, there's really something magical about the energy that a pet brings to a house. I was actually talking about this the other day. I'd never thought of Sunny as my pet. I just thought of him as my friend. I don't know if that sounds like a crazy cat lady, but he just really
I
was just like my friend
actually
that lived here.
agree with you. I have dogs, and I think of them in that very same way. It's strange to anyone who doesn't have pets, but we know we share that bond
Yeah,
with pets.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Sunny's memory has very much influenced your work.
Yes.
Not simply this single, but going forward, your creative flow during the day and your inspirations. Or how
Yeah,
did
it
you do it?
was the creative flow definitely changed when I got Sunny because for the first time as an adult, I felt like there was an audience in the room while I was making music, and I'd never had that before. So it feels, uh, and now that I have Quince, my new cat, it feels different because there's somebody listening to you when you're creating, and it changed my mind somewhat. Where before it felt like I had a blank canvas and I didn't really know what to start and what I was doing. And now, because there is sort of an energy to bounce off, I with Sonny, I would look at how he would respond when I was making different sounds and chords and noises and melodies. And if some would like calm him down, I'd be like, okay, great. Well, that's working in that direction. And some he would like meow along with or just kind of move around to. And it definitely changed the way that I wrote a little bit. And I will see how this new guy responds to the music
So do you
when
think
I
he's
start.
going to Quince is going to inspire you to write another song?
Very potentially. He's a really, really special cat, actually. Um, there's a term bodega cat in New York, which basically means like a cat that lives in a corner store, as if you have like, a news agent in the UK.
Mm.
Most of them here in New York have a cat that live in them who just kind of lounge around on packets of crisps in the day, and people pet them as they go in, and then they kind of catch the mice, that kind of thing. Quince was a bodega cat. So I now have like an iconic piece of New York in my home, and he's really the kindest, gentlest cat that I've met in my entire life. It's really almost disarming. I met him at my volunteer shift on Friday, brought him home on Sunday, and he just immediately wanted to cuddle, and he jumped on the bed, runs up to the bed, tries to take me up to bed every night, and he wants to cuddle, and he's just like lying around and
Oh, he's
has
really
a really,
fitted in very, very quickly to your life.
yeah, he has a very calming energy.
Um,
Um, so I'm kind of intrigued to see what he's like when I'm in the creative process.
so, Rod, how long have you lived in New York? And as a supplementary, do you think the American view of pets is different from the British view of pets? Or do you think we're pretty much aligned?
I've lived in New York in March. It's going to be 12 years,
Oh,
which
wow.
is a
Mhm.
long time now.
In time.
Um, I think that a lot more people tend to have pets in New York than in London when I used to live in London. It might have changed now a little bit because I haven't lived there for 12 years, but I don't remember many people having a pet when I was living there. It was semi unusual to have a pet if you were renting, especially. Um, but a lot of my friends in New York do have pets. Um, so I think it's a little bit more commonplace or just accepted, and people do shift their schedules around for their animals in a really nice way in New York. Even though everyone's very, very busy,
Mm.
um, having a pet seems to be like a really cherished thing over here. And I
Okay,
really like that.
interesting.
Cities are difficult because they're very busy and the lifestyle in a city is very kind of hectic and go, 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 go. So it's very touch and go whether you can really give a pet everything they need when you have that kind of schedule. Um, but I do see a lot of them in New York, and that does make me very happy.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And just tell me about a little bit about the rescue shelter as well. Just a little bit of background, how you
Yep.
came to work with it, basically.
So the shelter is called Bidewee, and it was set up in the early 1900s by this fabulous woman who used to see cats and dogs being thrown into the river to be killed. And she found a space there and she set up her own animal rescue shelter, her own, by the way, in this time frame, which is crazy. And it's been going ever since. So it's a no kill shelter, and it looks after cats and dogs exclusively. So it's not a general animal shelter. They are really brilliant, and I don't know, they just really have a good approach to helping people find the right fit with their animals. They have a really good team that have like sort of matchmakers, and they have their own medical team in the shelter where they screen all the health issues before anyone's able to adopt. I met them because I found Sunny online on Pet Finder or whatever it was, the place to look for cats in the city. and I went in and adopted him after a few days of emailing the team. This was during COVID as well, so there were no in-person adoption meetings. So I went in to meet them. They were absolutely lovely. The person that found Sunny, so Sunny was dumped in a paint bucket on their doorstep, and the person that actually found him was there, and she was really emotional when I was adopting him, and they were all lovely. So I kept in touch, and then they saw my artist name on my email signature, and so then the head of the marketing was like, "Oh, actually, would you come and DJ at our gala, their fundraising gala?" So I did, and then got to know them all really well. So do that every year, and then I saw they were looking for volunteers, and I asked if I could volunteer, and then I did the training, and I've been doing that for just over a year now as well.
Amazing.
And honestly, it's just been so rewarding to go in, and they think I'm something of a cat whisperer, so I'm really good with the very shy animals, um, and coaxing them out to get them more socialized so that they are ready to adopt. And there've been a couple of times actually where um, somebody that follows me on social media has come in to adopt one of the cats that I've worked with, and that's made me
Oh,
feel
amazing.
so proud. It's been amazing.
So, for people considering adoption, what advice would you give?
I would advise you to be very honest about what you're looking for in an animal, I think, because the most important thing is for you and for them to have the right match. So, for
Mm,
example, there's one cat at Baidu at the moment that I am heartbroken that I can't adopt. His name is Artie, and he has some medical issues. He basically has cystitis and needs regular checks, and he gets flare-ups when he gets stressed, if his surroundings change. And with my schedule for work and travel, it would be disastrous to his flare-ups because he would be super stressed to be coming in and out. And I
mm,
also wouldn't be there every single day to check on his
mm,
his levels and his medication and everything. So unfortunately, I'm not the right fit. And it broke my heart to admit that and to not bring him home when I see him every week now at
mm,
the volunteer shifts, and that's very hard. But to know that you're not the right fit, kind of like to know that you're not the right boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever for somebody, is very important to keep in mind. So
mm,
thinking about what you can offer them and what you want in return, like can you cope with an animal that has incredible playful energy? Can you cope with an animal that has behavioral issues? Can you
mm,
cope with an animal that's very shy and needs a lot of time to acclimatize and to socialize? Because we have a lot of returns at the shelter where people will come in, they're warned that an animal, sorry, I can't talk, that an animal is a little bit shy and needs extra work, and
mm,
they think they can fix them. So they
mm.
take them home, and then 2 days later, they'll bring them back saying, "Oh, it won't interact with me." And then you're like, "Well, that was very clearly laid out to you that this animal needs patience, which, by
Yeah,
the way, patience is
absolutely.
weeks, not hours."
Yeah, yeah.
So I think just be very transparent about what you're looking for and what you can provide, and that will absolutely help you to whittle down what is the best fit for you.
Mm. Thank you, Rod. That's really helpful to people considering adoption, actually, because everyone's after some sage advice, and you've got it based on experience. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've only really clocked having done the volunteer shifts.
Mm,
I don't think that I knew anywhere near as much as that going in first time round. And luckily, Sunny was a really good fit. We
mm,
were such good friends. And
mm,
then when it came to adopting Quince, um, it took a little longer because I knew what I was looking for this time around, and
mm,
I knew what my strengths were as a
mm,
dad,
mm.
I
Yeah.
suppose. And then he just sort of showed up on Friday, and then
Oh.
that was that.
Oh, bless. So just with such an impressive career, you've worked obviously with the likes of Elton John, Cher, and even appeared on the Graham Norton show. How do you channel your creativity into personal projects like Sunny?
I think the creative projects are a good setup in a way because you have to be very vulnerable and you have to be very quick on your feet thinking about stuff. And you also have to be quite good at problem solving or
Mm,
facing challenges, you know? So I've been an independent creator for my whole career, and there's been a lot of like admin and fundraising and creativity and tour managing
mm,
and managing my own career. So I'm used to being both like human and somewhat robotic when it comes
mm,
to the admin of stuff. And there are definitely moments when you have a pet that require you to be less emotional about
mm,
stuff and more practical. And I think that that was probably a good um, preamble to me being a good pet parent because, you know, there are times where you do have to be very just sort of pragmatic and just get things done, especially when it comes to vets and healthcare and stuff like that. We really have to make decisions without being too overwhelmed by them. Um, but I've loved having a creative career and creating largely at home. So that has meant that I've had more time to give
mm,
to Sunny and now to Quince that I'm not going to an office every day. And that's a real blessing. You know, there are times where I'm away for 10 days traveling for tour, and that makes it very hard to leave them. But for the most part, I'm mostly around.
mm.
And that means that I can take on a slightly more difficult cat or a more needy cat or something because I have more time to give to them, and that's really good.
Brilliant, thank you. So, what message do you hope listeners take away from Sunny, both musically and in terms of supporting animal rescue?
I hope that they take away um a message of real love, basically. You know, I am horrified daily by stories online of animal abuse.
Mm,
And, you know, you just hear these just nightmare scenarios where people have just done unspeakable things to animals because they don't think that animals are as valid as humans, which I truly don't understand how you can live on this earth and
yeah.
look around and with any conviction say that humans are more important than elephants, dogs, cats, whatever. Like, where does that perspective come from? It's just so wildly ignorant.
Mm,
I hope that this song shows that, like, there is a real true bond between you and your animal, and that friendship is really not confined to just human beings.
yeah.
You know, like all these tales throughout history
Yeah.
from like ancient civilizations, whatever, animals are very prominent in them. From ancient Egypt to like Rome to African culture to
Mm,
Wales, where the dragon is the symbol of Wales. You
mm,
know, there's always an animal in the picture. And I really hope that people think a little bit more about the importance of friendships with animals and that also grief is okay to talk about. It's very difficult to verbalize grief a lot, and there has been a lot of grief for a lot of people over the last few years, especially since COVID, where a lot of people were lost. And um, I want people to sort of feel that being honest about being heartbroken or grief-ridden is actually a healthy thing. Because
And
the worst thing you can do is
it's
pretend that you're okay.
it's valid and it's important for people
Yes.
to reach out and connect
Yes.
if they're feeling like that because I mean, as you say, people have that shared story and that link with animals as pet parents.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important, to accept that as a valid emotion. And
Yeah.
we are seeing our pets as part of our family increasingly.
Absolutely. There's really not much discourse around the effect of losing a pet,
Mm.
and especially with people that don't really have pets, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss." Full stop. Like, well, it's that doesn't really begin to even touch the surface of how deep the loss runs, and of course you don't want to keep talking about it over and over with people because it is somewhat
Absolutely.
cyclical.
But, we've
But there's
experienced much the same because we set up several years ago now Pet Remembrance Day, and that's celebrated on the 5th of July every year. And it's just a sort of space for people to remember their pets. And it could be, you've lost a cat, dog, whatever, 20 years ago. And it's just a space for you to, share memories and to recollect. And, it's important that we do give ourselves that space. So might not be a recent bereavement, but it's still valid and important.
Yeah, in the way that you remember friends and family members that died decades ago, you still remember a pet.
Mhm.
I still remember my childhood pets very fondly. Hilarious things that they did. The In New York, there was an amazing thing actually this year. It's every year, but it's the first time I'd gone. They have the like pet remembrance tree. So it's like a pine tree in the middle of Central Park where people go and they hang
Oh,
photos of their pets.
amazing.
So me and somebody else from By the Way, my friend Melissa, we went to hang up pictures of our pets that we'd lost that year, and there were just dozens of people, taking moments to remember their pets and looking at all the other pets on the tree. And it was so moving. It was really a fantastic thing to be able to go and do in the middle of New York. It was just really amazing.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you, Rod. It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing and so inspirational.
Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
right. A huge thank you to Rod for sharing his inspirational story with us. And don't forget to check out the video for Sunny and support Bidawi by
By the way,
Bidawi. I'll never get it right, will I? Bidawi. Bidawi, Bidawi. Remember that word. By purchasing the single, it's an amazing way to honor Sunny's legacy and help rescue animals in need. You can find links in the show notes below. Until next time, give your pets a cuddle from me, and we'll see you in the next issue of the Pet Mag podcast.